The world stretched endlessly, a place unlike anything humans had ever seen. Its skies shimmered in colors that no human eye could name, with clouds that glowed faintly in silver and gold. Trees towered high above, their leaves glinting like gemstones in the soft light. Rivers moved like liquid crystal, reflecting the twin moons that hung in the sky. Among all this beauty, humans were rare visitors, fragile creatures often underestimated by the aliens who called this world home. A human explorer had arrived on seeking knowledge and adventure. He had trained for years for this moment, learning alien languages and studying maps of uncharted territories. Yet nothing could have prepared him for the wonder of seeing the royal city for the first time. Its towers sparkled under the twin moons, and bridges made of a glass-like material arched gracefully over flowing rivers. It was a place of dreams and power, and at its heart lived the princess. Was unlike any being had ever encountered. Her presence commanded attention without effort. Her silver eyes seemed to see straight into the soul, and her movements were graceful, precise, and elegant. She walked in the royal gardens, surrounded by flowers that glowed softly at night, observing with quiet curiosity. There was a subtle smile on her lips, one that both intrigued and unsettled him. It was as if she already knew something about him that he did not yet understand. When he stepped closer, he could feel his heart pounding in his chest. He wanted to speak, but words seemed small compared to the vastness of the world around them and the intensity in her gaze. Finally broke the silence. "Why do you always smile when you see me, human?" Her voice was soft but carried authority, a mixture of curiosity and expectation. Swallowed, trying to steady his racing heart, he looked at her directly, feeling a strange mix of awe and boldness. "Because I want you to be my queen," he said, his voice steady despite the tremble in his chest. The words hung in the air, blinked, clearly taken aback. Then, to surprise, she laughed. It was a light, musical sound that seemed to echo through the glowing garden. There was no mockery in her laughter, only wonder. It was the first time he realized that his words, simple and human, could reach across worlds and touch something deep within her. "You speak boldly for a fragile human," said, her eyes still sparkling. "Do you truly understand what it means to stand beside a princess?" Nodded firmly. "I may be fragile by your standards, but my heart is strong. I will learn, I will rise to meet you. I want to stand with you always." For a moment, the alien world seemed to pause. A gentle breeze moved through the garden, carrying the fragrance of strange, glowing flowers. The twin moons reflected in his eyes, and she studied as if trying to measure the depth of his resolve. Finally, she spoke again, her tone softer this time, almost like a whisper. "Perhaps humans are not as weak as we believed." The simple truth of her words filled with hope. He felt a spark of connection, one that transcended species, power, or tradition. In that garden under alien moons and among impossible trees, two hearts had met. Human courage facing alien curiosity, bridging worlds with something neither fully understood yet. Smiled once more, a smile that seemed different now, warmer and more personal. Realized it was the beginning of something extraordinary. Not just a friendship, not just a curiosity, but the first step toward a bond that could change their worlds forever. He did not know the challenges ahead, the dangers he would face, or the obstacles that awaited them, but he knew one thing clearly in his heart. He wanted to be his queen, and he would give everything to see that dream come true. The news of his words spread quickly through the palace corridors. Aliens whispered in astonishment and disbelief. A human, fragile and untested, had declared that he wanted the princess to be his queen. Many scoffed, shaking their heads at what they considered foolishness. Humans were not meant for royalty. They were fragile, inexperienced, and temporary, yet some eyes, curious and skeptical, watched him closely, wondering if perhaps this human possessed something beyond their understanding. His father, the emperor, was the most skeptical of all. Tall and imposing, his presence alone commanded silence. His silver hair flowed like a river of light, and his eyes, sharp and piercing, could see through deception with ease. When he summoned to his chambers, the air seemed to thrum with tension. "Do you understand the world you are entering, human?" the emperor asked. His voice was calm, but carried a weight that made feel as if he were standing at the edge of a cliff. "I understand more than you think," replied firmly. "I may be human, but I am willing to learn. I am willing to face any danger to protect her and stand beside her." The emperor studied him for a long time, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke. If you truly wish to prove yourself worthy, you must face the trial of many have tried, many have failed. Only those with courage, wit, and heart survive. Did not hesitate, I will face it. Who had been watching from behind a pillar felt a pang of worry. The trial of was known across the world as dangerous, filled with beasts and challenges that could crush even the strongest warriors. She had never seen a human endure it, yet the confidence in his eyes gave her hope. The next morning set out toward the outskirts of. The land beyond the city was wild, filled with dense forests where the sunlight barely touched the ground. Strange creatures moved silently in the shadows, some curious, others deadly. Every step took was calculated, using instinct and quick thinking rather than brute strength. He climbed cliffs slick with glowing moss, navigated rivers that sparkled like liquid diamonds, and evaded predators that moved faster than the eye could follow. One evening, as the twin moons rose, he entered a part of the forest older than memory. The trees here were massive, their roots twisting like serpents over the ground. From the shadows emerged a creature ancient and immense, its body covered in scales that reflected the moonlight. Its eyes glowed with wisdom and menace, and its voice rumbled like distant thunder. Why does a human dare to walk in the lands? His heart beat faster, but his voice remained steady. I walk because I choose love. I walk because I want to stand with the princess. I will not fail her. The creature studied him for a long moment. Its eyes seemed to pierce his soul, weighing every thought, every intention. Then, slowly, it nodded and disappeared into the darkness, leaving a path open through the forest. When finally emerged from the trial, he was tired, bruised, and worn, yet there was a light in his eyes that no challenge could extinguish. He had survived. He had proven that a human's heart could rise to meet a princess, that courage was not bound to species or strength. Back in the palace, waited anxiously. The moment returned, she ran to him, her hands trembling as they touched his shoulders. You survived, she whispered, her voice trembling with relief. Smiled softly, his hand brushing against hers. I told you I would. I told you I want you to be my queen. Her heart swelled with emotion. For the first time, she understood that humans were not fragile in the way aliens believed. Their strength was quiet, internal, and boundless when driven by love and determination. And in that realization, a spark of hope for their future ignited, stronger and brighter than the twin moons above. The palace of buzzed with whispers after returned from the trial. Nobles and guards alike looked at him with a mixture of disbelief and cautious respect. A human had faced the deadly lands beyond the city, and he had survived. Some called it luck, others sheer courage. Yet knew deep in his heart that survival was only the beginning. The true challenges were still ahead, those not of the forest or beasts, but of politics, doubt, and hearts unwilling to accept change. Stayed by his side constantly, her silver eyes reflecting a mixture of pride and worry. You should rest, she said softly one evening as they walked through the palace gardens. The glowing flowers illuminated their path, painting their faces with a soft, warm light. The trial is over, yet I see no relief in your eyes. Shook his head, a faint smile on his lips. The trial tested my body, but not the world we live in. There are those who will never accept me beside you. There are dangers I cannot see, but I will face them. For you, I can face anything. Reached out, her fingers brushing against his. Your courage is beyond anything I imagined, but even courage must meet caution. Some will try to stop us. Days passed, and the palace's calm began to crack. Secret whispers turned into schemes. A group of nobles, fearful of a human rising beside the princess, plotted quietly. They whispered of ancient laws and traditions, of alliances that must not be broken. Their eyes, once full of admiration for triumph in the trial, now glinted with suspicion and envy. One night, as made his way through the quiet corridors, he felt it before he saw it, a sudden, sharp strike aimed at his side. With quick reflexes, he dodged, barely avoiding the blade. His heart raced, but his mind stayed clear. The human instinct, honed by survival and danger, guided him. In the shadows, a cloaked figure lunged again, twisted, using his small size to his advantage, and managed to push the attacker into the wall. The figure crumpled silently, unconscious. Appeared moments later, eyes wide in alarm. Are you hurt? He shook his head, trying to calm both himself and her. No, I'm fine, but we are not safe. There are those in this palace who do not want us together. The realization hit them both hard. Survival in the wild had been one thing, but navigating the heartless intrigues of the court was another. The enemies they faced now were not beasts with fangs or claws, but people who saw love and courage as threats. Took his hand firmly. Then we face them together. You are not just a human, you are my heart, my choice, and I will not let anyone take that from us. His chest swelled with emotion. Here, in this alien world, he felt the depth of his bond with the princess. Her words, her unwavering belief in him, gave him strength beyond anything he had known. No trial, no attack, no whispering noble could break the connection they shared. But in the quiet halls, shadows shifted. The conspirators had retreated for now, but their schemes were far from over, and knew that the greatest test was not the trial of or the forest's deadly creatures. It was the battle for acceptance, for trust, for a love that crossed worlds. As the twin moons rose above the palace, casting a silver glow over the gardens, stood beside, hands intertwined. He looked at her, his eyes firm and steady. Whatever comes, we face it together. I will protect you, I will fight for you, and I will never let anyone take you from me. Leaned against him, her silver eyes shimmering with unshed tears. And I will choose you always, no matter what stands in our way. In that moment, amidst the glowing gardens and silent palace halls, they both understood something profound. Courage was not only in surviving the wild or defeating beasts. True courage was standing together, facing the unknown, and believing in each other even when the world seemed determined to pull them apart. And so, united by heart and purpose, they prepared for the trials that were yet to come, trials not of nature, but of a world not yet ready for love that dared to defy its rules. When returned fully to the palace, the atmosphere was tense. Word of the attempted attack had spread, and whispers of fear and doubt filled the corridors. Yet there was also awe. Aliens who had once thought humans weak now looked at him with a mixture of respect and curiosity. Survival of the trial was one thing. Surviving an ambush inside the palace itself was another. It proved he was clever, fast, and determined. Waited in the royal garden, her silver eyes scanning every shadow. When she saw emerge from the grand doors, bruised but upright, she ran to him. Her hands trembled as she touched his arm, and for the first time she let herself show how much fear had gnawed at her heart. You survived again," she whispered, her voice trembling. Smiled softly, brushing a strand of her hair back from her face. "I told you I will not fail, not for the trial, not for the palace, not for you." Her eyes glistened with unshed tears, and she pulled him into a gentle embrace. In that moment, the glowing flowers around them seemed to burn brighter, the twin moons reflected in their eyes like two silver mirrors. I am proud of you," she murmured. "You are nothing like I expected, stronger, braver, more than any alien warrior." Shook his head with a faint laugh. "I am just a human, but humans, we have hearts that do not give up easily, and my heart chose you." Their moment was interrupted as the palace gates opened. A group of nobles, pale and tense, approached cautiously. Their leader, a tall figure with piercing golden eyes, bowed stiffly. "Princess, we did not understand. Your courage is undeniable. Perhaps the human heart is stronger than we believed." His gaze hardened. "Courage is not measured by blood or species. It is measured by what one is willing to do for those they love. He risked everything to return to me." The nobles hesitated, unsure whether to argue or accept her words. Stepped forward, his voice steady and clear. "I do not claim to be stronger than any alien. I only know this. I love and I will fight for her every day of my life. That is all the strength I need." One of the nobles, clearly shaken, whispered to another, "No human has ever spoken like this. It cannot be ignored." Placed a hand on shoulder, her silver eyes meeting his. "This world may doubt us, but we face it together. No one can take away what is ours, not while we stand side by side." Nodded, feeling a warmth spread through him, deeper than any pride or relief. In that moment, he understood that the trial and the ambush were only the beginning. The real battle was not in the forests or against beasts. It was here, in hearts unwilling to accept something new, something different. And yet, for the first time, he felt hope. Not because the world had changed, but because he had each other. As they walked through the glowing gardens, their fingers intertwined, felt a determination stronger than ever. He would not let doubt, fear, or tradition stand in the way of the love that had chosen them. He would meet every challenge head-on, not with anger, but with courage, wit, and the unshakable strength of his human heart. Glanced up at him, her smile soft but resolute. Whatever they throw at us next, we will face it together. And I will never let you face it alone, replied. In the palace of, where whispers of doubt and fear still lingered, two hearts had begun a quiet revolution. Not of weapons or armies, but of courage, love, and the undeniable truth that strength could come in the most unexpected forms. And under the twin moons, with flowers glowing softly around them, the human and the princess prepared to face whatever storms awaited them. Together, the palace was alive with silent tension. Shadows moved where no light fell, whispers carried secrets, and every corridor seemed to hide eyes that watched with suspicion. Had faced the trial and survived ambushes, yet even that did not stop the nobles from plotting. Some feared change. Some feared that a human, fragile, untested, and unknown, might stand beside the princess. And some simply hated the idea that love, not tradition, could rewrite centuries of history. Late one night walked the palace halls alone, his steps echoing softly against the polished stone floors. He had been warned that the conspirators were careful, patient, and clever. Still, his human instincts, sharpened by survival in wild lands, guided him. He sensed movement before he saw it, a shadow detaching itself from the wall, approaching with quiet menace. In a swift motion, a dagger flashed toward him, ducked, rolling aside, his heart racing but his mind clear. The attacker lunged again, faster this time, aiming to strike with precision, but had learned to move with instincts born of necessity, honed in the trials, forests, and nights alone under alien moons. He grabbed the attacker's wrist, twisting it just enough to disarm him, and pinned him against the wall. "You think fear can stop us," whispered, his voice steady but icy. "You think doubt can break what love has already built." Before the attacker could respond, appeared, glowing in the soft light of the palace lanterns. Her eyes were fierce, her silver hair reflecting the pale light. She said calmly, yet every word carried authority, "You are mine, and no plot will separate us. If you wish to challenge him, you must challenge me as well." The conspirators froze, stunned by the princess's resolve. Stepped closer, her gaze sharp and unwavering. "Do not forget your place. I choose my path, and my path is with him." The attack faltered, fear replacing intent. They had underestimated the bond between human and princess, a connection that no blade, whisper, or shadow could sever. Slowly, the attackers retreated, melting into the corridors like mist. Turned to, her eyes softening. "Are you hurt?" she asked, brushing a hand gently over his shoulder. Shook his head, his lips curling into a small, tired smile. "I've faced worse, and I have you. That is all I need." Smiled, but her heart still carried worry. She knew the conspirators would not give up so easily. This was only the beginning. The palace, with all its history and rigid rules, was not ready to accept a human as her partner. But the warmth in his eyes, the quiet courage he carried, reassured her. He was not just surviving challenges, he was changing hearts, slowly but surely. The next morning, the palace awakened to a tension that was palpable yet unspoken. Eyes followed wherever he went. Whispers tried to thread doubt through his courage, yet the princess walked beside him, her presence shielding him more than any guard or weapon could. Together, they moved through the palace, side by side, a human and a princess whose hearts had chosen each other over fear, tradition, and expectation. His voice was calm but firm as she addressed the nobles that day. "I will not be bound by fear or tradition alone. I choose courage, I choose love," has proven his heart, his mind, and his loyalty, those who cannot see that have already lost. The nobles shifted uneasily. Some still whispered behind hands, but many paused, struck by the princess's unwavering stance and the human who stood beside her. His quiet determination, combined with authority, was changing the palace's atmosphere. Fear was meeting courage, doubt was meeting conviction, and slowly the walls of centuries-old prejudice began to crack. That night, as and stood on the balcony overlooking the glowing city, the twin moons reflecting in their eyes, he took her hand. "No matter what they plan, we face it together," he said softly. Smiled, resting her head against his shoulder. "And we will, together." In that quiet moment, they knew something powerful had begun. The conspiracies, the schemes, and the whispered fears of the palace were only shadows. Their bond, forged in courage, tested by danger, and sealed by love, was stronger than any opposition. And from that strength, a new future began to take shape, a future neither human nor alien could ignore. The palace courtyard was filled with nobles, guards, and citizens alike, all gathered for the princess's traditional address. The air was thick with tension. Many whispered doubts about the human who stood at its side, a fragile figure in a world of towering warriors and centuries-old power. Yet remained calm, his presence steady, his hand resting lightly on the princess. There was courage in his silence, a quiet confidence that spoke louder than words. Stepped forward, her silver eyes scanning the gathered crowd. Her heart beat fiercely, not from fear, but from resolve. She had watched face impossible trials, survive ambushes, and protect her in ways no alien warrior could. She knew what she must do. The time for whispers, doubt, and hesitation had passed. "I have a choice," began, her voice clear and strong, echoing across the courtyard. "A choice that belongs to me alone. I will not allow fear, tradition, or expectation to dictate my life. I choose." She paused, letting the words settle, watching as the crowd leaned forward, curiosity and tension filling the air. "I choose love. I choose courage. I choose him." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Eyes widened in shock. Some tried to argue with her words, but her gaze, unwavering, silenced them. She looked directly at, a smile lighting her face, and continued, "You have shown a strength that no rule, no trial, no tradition could measure. You are not defined by your species, but by your heart. And that heart has chosen me. I choose you in return." Felt a surge of emotion, a warmth spreading through him that made the world around them seem to shine brighter. He stepped forward, his voice ringing with calm conviction. "I have never sought power, nor titles, nor recognition. I only wish to stand beside you, to protect you, and to honor the choice you make. I will face anything for you, every challenge, every danger, and I will never step away from your side." The crowd fell into stunned silence. For a moment, tradition itself seemed to hold its breath. The emperor, tall and imposing, watched his daughter. His eyes softened slightly, but the weight of expectation and centuries of rule made him hesitate. Yet even he could not deny what was plain to see: the human's courage, the princess's conviction, and the bond that shone brighter than any palace jewel. Reached for his hand, intertwining their fingers. "This world may doubt us, may try to tear us apart, but together we are stronger than fear, stronger than doubt, stronger than any rule. And today I stand before you to make that truth clear." Whispers of awe spread through the crowd. Nobles who had plotted against them glanced at each other, unsure how to respond. Some were silent, shocked into respect. Others bowed their heads, realizing that resistance to this human and princess was futile. The power of courage and love was rewriting the rules of their world. Squeezed her hand, his eyes full of emotion. "Whatever comes next, whatever schemes or dangers await, I am with you, always." Smile softened, a mixture of relief and pride. "And I with you. No matter what anyone says, no matter the obstacles, we face them together." The twin moons shone down upon them, reflecting in the silver petals of the palace gardens and in the eyes of the people who witnessed a moment unlike any before. In that moment, the impossible seemed possible. A human had not only survived, but had proven that heart, courage, and love could challenge centuries of expectation. The declaration was more than words. It was a statement that change had come to. It was a promise that love could not be contained by fear or tradition. And standing side by side, and knew that the future, uncertain and filled with challenges, was theirs to face together. For the first time, the palace felt different. A quiet hope began to ripple through the hearts of those present. A human could rise, a human could protect, a human could love fiercely enough to change an entire world. And the princess had chosen him. The day of the coronation arrived with a sky painted in gold and silver, the twin moons glowing faintly in the morning light. The palace buzzed with anticipation. Citizens and nobles alike gathered to witness history, something no one had expected. A human, a fragile traveler from another world, was about to stand beside the princess as her equal. Many still whispered doubts, but those whispers were weaker now, overpowered by awe and curiosity. Stood at the top of the grand staircase, her silver eyes shining like twin stars. Her gown shimmered with soft light, and her posture radiated grace and authority. Beside her stood tall, shoulders squared, heart steady. He had faced deadly trials, assassination attempts, and the whispers of countless doubters, yet nothing compared to the weight of this moment. Still, he smiled, not with arrogance, but with certainty. He had chosen this path. He had chosen. As the High Elder placed the crown upon his head, a silence fell over the crowd. The symbol of centuries of rule, of tradition and expectation, now rested on the princess who had dared to defy fear and embrace love. Looked at, and her smile was radiant. "This crown," she said softly, "does not make me strong. You do, your heart, your courage, your love, that is what gives me strength." His hand found hers, fingers intertwining naturally. "And you give me purpose, you give me hope. Together, nothing can stop us." The crowd watched in stunned silence, and then slowly, applause began to ripple through the palace courtyard. Some clapped out of respect, others in amazement, and a few reluctantly, as if witnessing a miracle. A human had not only survived in their world, but had proven that courage, loyalty, and love could cross boundaries no one thought possible. The emperor approached, his face calm yet thoughtful. For years he had feared the fragility of humans, their inability to endure the harshness of. But now, standing before his daughter and her human companion, he saw a truth he could not deny. "You have proven yourself," he said solemnly. "Your heart is strong, your courage is undeniable. Perhaps we have underestimated humanity." Squeezed hand, tears of joy and relief in her eyes. "We have faced everything together," she said softly, her voice trembling with emotion. "And we will continue to face whatever comes side by side." Smiled, feeling a deep warmth spread through him. In that moment the world seemed still, as if holding its breath to witness the union of courage and love, of human and alien, of two hearts choosing each other against all odds. He realized that humanity was not defined by strength alone, nor by fragility, but by the courage to stand for what one believed in, the resilience to face impossible trials, and the capacity to love beyond limits. The twin moons reflected in the river below, shimmering like liquid silver, rested her head against shoulder, and he wrapped an arm around her, holding her close. "We will build our future together," he whispered. "No fear, no doubt, no conspiracy can take this from us." "And I will stand with you," replied, her voice firm yet gentle. "Through every challenge, through every storm, I choose you, always." For the first time, the citizens saw not just a princess and a human, but a new symbol, one that promised change, hope, and courage. Whispers of doubt were replaced with admiration. Eyes once skeptical now shone with belief. Humanity had proven itself, not with weapons nor with power, but with heart, determination, and love that refused to yield. As the coronation concluded and stood hand in hand, facing the crowd and the world beyond. The future was uncertain, yes, but their bond was unshakable. A human had become more than a visitor. A human had become a partner, a hero, a king in all but title. And under the glow of twin moons, a new era began, one where courage, love, and the human heart could change the course of history. In the quiet of the palace garden later that night, looked up at him, silver eyes shining with quiet wonder. "Why did you always smile when you saw me?" she asked softly, a teasing note in her voice. Smiled, warmth and love radiating from his eyes. "Because I knew, from the very beginning, that no matter what the world said, my heart had already chosen its queen." And with that, they stood together, human and princess, ready to face a universe that had finally learned the strength of the human heart.